to slumber, they open up your eyes. All these victims stand in line for the crumbs that fall from the table, just enough to get by. All the while your invitation, wake on up from your slumber, baby, open up your eyes. Wake on up from your slumber, baby, open up.
What is up, Faith Uncensored? This is Matthew Stewart, your host for the group, and host for the topics. This week I wanted to go over something special with you, primarily from Luke chapter 12, verse 42 through 48. Now, what this is about, to get to it, right before this passage, or within this passage actually, Jesus is telling them to watch for when the Father will return. What I talked about kind of in the last episode of Faith Uncensored. But this week, I want to talk about those who have been given that responsibility, those that God has revealed His Word, His truth, and His will to, and how responsible we are for that, and what that means. There are those, he explains, there are those that God reveals the truth of His will and His Word, and there are those that never receive it. There's a lot of people who think that there are different levels of hell for those who never heard the gospel, and there's who have, and what they did with it. And I can see where they're coming from in this passage, but I'm just going to read over it. And then, I'm open to suggestions and comments, so I just want to hear from y'all about this too. But I'm just going to start off. Luke 12, 42 through 48. Now remember, this is when Jesus is talking about being watchful for the days when that He will return, and in preparation for that. 42. Then the Lord answered, "Who then is the faithful and wise manager whom this master puts in charge of his servants to give them food and allowance at the proper time? It will be good for that servant whom the master finds doing so when he returns. I tell you the truth, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose the servant says to himself, 'My master is taking a long time coming.' He then begins to beat the manservants and maidservants, and eat and drink and get drunk. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and in an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him to a place with unbelievers. That servant who knows," now this is important here, 47, "that servant who knows his master's will and does not get ready, and does not do as his master wants, will be beaten with many blows. But the one who does not know and does things deserving punishment will be beaten with few blows. From everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked." What he's saying here is, to those who have been given the responsibility to spread the truth of the gospel, and who God has revealed His will to, we have a personal responsibility that cannot be wasted, and that's what he's talking about. We've been given this precious gift, this precious task, and we cannot take it for granted. We can't. If we take it for granted, if we've been revealed, if all this information, if all this truth has been revealed to us, and we do nothing with it, then we will suffer. Period. We have been given a responsibility, we have been given a task, and we cannot by any means take it lightly. Now then you get to verse 48, and it talks about, but the one who does not know, the one who the gospel has never been revealed to, he will be beaten with few blows. Now there is a section in Romans where it talks about that because God is the creator. All creation knows of his existence. All creation. But that doesn't mean that every person knows the gospel. That's why it's important to spread it. We will all be before God when our time comes of judgment, because he is our creator. And like it's talking about here, those who the gospel was not told to, that wasn't reached out to, those were suffered fewer blows than the ones who were given this responsibility for the truth that God entrusted to, and they did nothing with it. They will be the ones to be truly punished, and rightfully so. The gospel is not something to play around with. God's will is not something to play around with. It's meant to be taken seriously. There's a point, I think, maybe it's in 1st or 2nd Timothy, when Paul is telling Timothy that the Bible can be used to refute, to teach, and it can. But, like I said, those who have been given the task of teaching, of encouraging, of bringing this word to the nations, we will be judged. I mean, it's just right here. From everyone, in 48, from everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. A lot of people don't get that. Christianity today in America is just seen as, just a title. And it's pathetic and it's sad that no one seems to want to correct anybody with a good heart anymore. Nobody wants to aggravate anybody. No one wants to upset anybody. But sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes you have to stand up for your faith. You have to stand up for your ideals. And you have to stand up when you've been given this great task of spreading God's word. People will love you or people will hate you. It doesn't matter. God is for you. And as long as God is for you, who can be against you? People can line up from all around shouting at you and beating you down, but it doesn't matter. God is still there. If you're doing what's right, if you're speaking His truth, if you're bold enough to proclaim it, like we have been taught to do, then our reward is already set. So that's really the message for today. We have been given a precious responsibility and a task, and we cannot take it for granted. Be in the Bible. Be in prayer. Be involved in your church. Be accountable with a brother or sister. Do what you have to do to be responsible with your faith. Because no one can answer for our faith except us. And no one can answer for us. No one can answer for us except for Christ. And that's only if we live a life of faith. And believe in Him. But don't waste the gift of the Word. Don't waste the precious opportunity to spread it. And don't waste your life just trying to be in kind of a tolerant circumstance, because tolerance just leads to really desensitizing the gospel, and we cannot do that. We cannot. But that's just the message I want to bring y'all today. So for those on YouTube, subscribe, comment. For those on Facebook, start some dialogue or comments. But anyway, this is my message for you this week, and thank y'all for listening. Later.
Wake on up from your slumber, they open up in your eyes. All these victims stand in line for the crumbs that fall from the table.